This is GP Legends, the podcast. I'm here with Tony Bushart, Corben Bushart, and I'm Aaron Bushart. We are, in fact, brothers that just love the hell out of MotoGP and want to bring our, for whatever it's worth, commentary to you all about what we think about MotoGP, what's happening. And so this is our pre-weekend Jerez kind of breakdown. And we're going to talk about Jerez, everything else, everything we like to do. We're going to have beers and just talk about it. And if it's interesting, that'll be cool. So
for sure.
with that, let's just dive into Jerez, always insane weekend. Super excited. Biggest question on everybody's mind, I think, at least mine, because I'm obviously a huge Marc Marquez fan. Is Marc going to be back this week?
It's a great question. I would be shocked if he's not back. I really think he's going to try everything to be at Jerez in Spain. Like we were just talking, one of the fastest guys at Jerez. So even on a Honda, I think this track suits the Honda as much as any track does. So I think he's going to definitely want to be here and put up a show if he can.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad to hear you say that. There's very little news on the subject. I was poring over it ahead of the pod today just to try to understand, if there's any insight to this. It's rumored that he will be there for sure.
Yeah.
So I have a hard time believing that he doesn't that he would travel and do this. He has so much experience. We have so much experience with Marquez being injured that he rarely travels to a track instead of staying home and training if he is recovering. So I think it'd be a little bit strange for his behavior. Granted, this isn't Spain, in his home, in his home country where it's close by. He could just be going to support Alex, which would be very typical Marc. So we hope though that he's going because he's fit enough to ride, and we're going to see a Marc Marquez show. I think that's what we all want to do.
He's definitely going to light it up if he's there. I have no question about that. I'm really excited to see Danny come back. Danny Pedrosa is going to be wild carding on a KTM.
I didn't realize that.
Did not know that.
Is going to be one of the best KTMs that we've seen, ever. This bike, for what we've seen from Jack Miller and even Brad Binder in the sprint race at Portimao, this guy is going to be something to keep an eye on. He's potential dark horse. Last wild card he did, he was around 10th place. But I really think at Jerez, if there's any spark in Danny, we might see it here. So I'm really excited to see what the little samurai can bring this weekend.
I'm all giddy inside. I love Danny Pedrosa.
Yeah, I mean, it's all nostalgia and everything, but man, if the guy could show up, he's definitely capable of a one-off hit. And it'd be amazing to see him do well.
Yeah, I mean, if we saw him on the podium, I'd freak out.
Oh, my
God. That'd
God.
be so amazing. Yeah, we'd love Danny Pedrosa, that's for sure. Amazing to see him back. That's really awesome. I had no idea he was going to be back this week. That's
for
really
sure.
Great.
It's awesome.
That's a fun story. I mean, as Americans, watching Danny's evolution from taking out Nicky Hayden in 2006 in the championship year and hating his guts and hating Honda, the evil empire, to watching Danny grow up and really become this pretty awesome, mature, role model type of guy.
Absolutely.
And definitely want to root for him. He's definitely got all my support this weekend.
Yep, for sure. Always wanted to see Danny on any other bike besides a Honda, especially at the end of his career when all the talk was that he was just too lightweight to ride the thing anymore. And then also just to watch his style all through his career, how smooth and how fast he was. Mm-hmm. I always felt a little bit like he got marooned on that Honda when I always wondered what he could have done on a Suzuki or a Yamaha. So
yeah, for sure.
Let's see what KTM has to offer.
Yeah,
he could be dangerous on a KTM.
He really could be.
Really fast.
I think the guy can probably ride about anything, and KTM is definitely going to suit the way he rode the Honda, I think. I think the last time, I didn't really look this up, but the last time we saw Danny ride was at the Red Bull Ring. He wild carded on a KTM as a test rider a couple years ago. I think he was around 10th, but that KTM that he rode
that's a totally different bike.
Was not that great of a bike. He was in the mix with the other KTM riders at that time. So I'm excited, with the potential that Brad and Jack have showed. It could be really interesting.
Yeah, that's really exciting.
And to that matter, Jack and Brad, like those guys, I think they got a shot. Definitely top 5 this weekend. I've been blown away by Jack Miller on that bike this year so far, and I really hope Jack can put it together and put in a performance that really showcases the KTM. And you just never know with Brad. He's going to show up in race day, and he's going to do something crazy. So I think he's done well at Jerez before, and so yeah, I mean KTM could definitely be a big contender this weekend.
Yeah, it's been fun to watch Jack transition to the KTM and how quickly he's taken to it. A lot of riders take weeks and weeks, if not a whole year, to adapt to a new bike. We've seen Jack within the first couple of races already competing for podiums, going all out in sprint race. So I'm hopeful that that's just a sign of things to come. It probably helps that he has ridden Honda, Ducati, and so he knows how to experience. A lot of experience. He knows how to switch from one bike to another now. But he's also exciting to see. He is as good of a control rider as we have to watch switch from one bike to another because he's so experienced, because we have so much data just as viewers and fans of watching him. To see him jump onto a KTM where it's been Binder, Oliveira, who are streaky. Now we've got Jack to see how does a KTM stack up, and we're seeing. I mean, it's continuing to make improvements as well as a bike, but we're seeing Jack now show what the KTM has. So that's been fun to watch.
I think he's going to be a pretty solid, consistent guy. He does crash every once in a while, but he's usually around the same spot for most of the race, whether he crashes or finishes. At least where he was or what his potential was going to be. And Thriller Miller, man, you ready for the ride?
Let's do it.
Good old jackass.
Absolutely. So last year we saw Pecco first, Quartararo second, and Aleix Espargaro actually in third, followed by Marquez, by the way, Marc Marquez. So really interested to see if this is a track that Yamaha can compete at for the first time this year. Really, I guess I shouldn't say that for the first time. I think Morbidelli absolutely crushed it at Argentina and demonstrated.
Fabio was on the box last weekend. So
yeah, absolutely. So yeah, absolutely. So I think I'm really excited to see if Fabio can show up. I think in another lap last year he may have gotten Pecco. So really interested to see what do you guys think about Yamaha's chances here. Morbidelli's obviously fighting for his seat at this point.
Yeah,
in the season.
I'm a huge Frankie fan. I hope he does really well. I think this race is really going to be sort of make or break for Frankie because Jerez is a testing hotspot. Yamaha have tons of data. They've already been here, in preseason testing. And Frankie needs to show up, and he needs to do really well. He might not have to be Fabio, but he's got to be top 5. And I hope he can do it. If he can't, that might not be the nail in the coffin, but it's going to be pretty close. I mean, Jerez is the start of the European season. This is where everybody sort of expects you to be able to show your potential. And so, yeah, Frankie needs to turn up. And Fabio, I'm not worried. He's going to come and he's going to be there. Like last year, I think that, the tight circuits like Jerez fit the Yamaha well. Obviously, they don't have to worry about the horsepower nearly as much here. So, yeah, Fabio's definitely got a chance to win if he qualifies well. And should be in the battle for the podium.
What do we think about Honda? Obviously, if Mark is racing, you're setting up for fireworks. This is the race of this is the track where he made his insane comeback and from the back, and then ultimately injured himself. That started his in and out, kind of off and on the bike injury stint, sort of mid-career crisis. You could say for Mark, but also the place where we saw before that him do something we've probably never seen anybody do on a bike before. Nobody else like Marquez has really been able to accomplish going off the track, coming back on the track, fighting all the way up to the field. I think crashing out of second when he got injured.
Yeah, he was definitely up there.
Absolutely insane. So, obviously I think, the Honda story, if Mark is riding, is really just a Marc Marquez story, if you ask me. I'm curious what you guys think about. Obviously Rins is coming off the win in Coda, looking, in great form. Hopefully, we'd love to see if Rins can keep his form. I think that's always a question. But yeah, we feel obviously the Honda can be faster. It's obviously a bike, a track that Honda's bike can be very strong at, regardless. Even though it's struggling a little bit right now to keep up. But if it can shine similar to Coda, this is a good race for them to show up. What do you guys think about other contenders on the Honda side? You see anything from?
Well, I feel like I'm more confused than ever about what to make of the Honda because of Rins' performance last week.
Oh, for sure.
This is the first time we've seen any Honda rider not named Marc Marquez do anything on this bike in how long? It's been forever. And so that was like totally out of left field, I think, for all of us to see him ride the tail of Pecco for that long and then force him into the mistake, take the win by 3 seconds.
Yeah.
I mean, It was a healthy margin. But again, I just throw my hands up in the air and I say, where is this bike at? And then, of course, I mean, this is looking backwards at Kodo. What could Mark have done? He surely would have been right up there with them, especially at Kodo where he's been so dominant. But now looking at Jerez, I don't even know what to make of all this. Like they do have, as riders, they all have a wealth of experience here. They know how to ride this track. Clearly, Rins is getting some familiarity with the bike. If Mark comes back, man, we got fireworks on the way.
Oh, man. I couldn't agree more with, being confused about what Honda is doing or what to even predict because, Mark can be super fast at Jerez as we've seen, but, like, Rins, what in the heck, man? Like, that guy, I was one of his biggest doubters. I have said many terrible things about Alex Rins. He was the most boring rider that I have watched in the last few years. I thought he needed to get the heck out of the Suzuki. He was taking a spot from somebody more deserving. Yeah, he won races. Yeah, he was quick. But like, man, what I would have loved to see Frankie Morbidelli in Rins' shoes. But, who knows with Frankie? It's really hard to tell. But Rins put all my doubts, to bed at Coda.
Well, it's like he does this every month or two. Like he comes out with some crazy performance that makes him look like an alien
once or twice
for a
season.
One-off.
Once or twice a season,
right.
He'll show you some brilliant thing, how brilliant and capable he really is. That's why, I say it would be amazing to see him stay in this form, although we've never seen that before.
Right.
It would be incredible to see Rins ride the way like I said, a couple of times a season, he'll do something. He'll, whether it's the podium or a win, he will just absolutely blow your mind, or, a huge charge from behind. So I just, you really love to see him in that form. I think we've all made the comment over the last couple of seasons, how on earth does Rins still have a job sometimes at Suzuki when he's just crashing all the time and just really not putting his best foot forward and not being able to stay in good form, knowing he has a potential. I thought Suzuki was incredibly patient with him through that. I think he, honestly was lucky to have a ride, around this season with all the fast riders out there. Mm-hmm. So amazing to see him succeed at Coda. I think I would love to see Rins be successful. I'd love to see him stay in the same form and compete this weekend. I doubt that he will.
Right.
I just do.
This is just it.
I just don't see him staying in the headspace that you have to be in for more than a week at a time. It's just never happened for him so far. But hey, it would be absolutely incredible to see him come out in incredible form and really show up.
Yeah, man. Come on, Rins. Prove me wrong. On your day, it's your day and you win. You dominate. Mm-hmm. But man, there's so many days that you're winning and it's not your day and you crash out and it's pretty sad. So prove me wrong. Bring the Honda to another level. Show that you can be the guy that can put Marc Marquez in his place and you can run with him on his bike. And I agree, man. It would have been amazing to see Mark on the Honda at Coda and watch Rins and Marquez showdown because
amazing.
That would have been a sight. We got robbed from what could have been a phenomenal race at Coda between those two. And so, we got a shot at that. Again, I think Rins can do well at Jerez. If the Honda, maybe they found something that all the Honda riders, or at least Rins and Marquez, can ride. I don't know if it's the Kalex chassis or if Honda found something. Lucio Cecchinello was saying they went a certain direction. Nobody knows, or at least I don't know, if it was the Kalex direction or if Honda's found their own chassis to work. They brought something for Rins, and he made it happen. So, yeah, it'd be really interesting to see, if Mark or Alex can pull it off on the Honda. I just don't see Mir or Taka being able to pull anything out on the Honda. I mean, it's Jerez, and for Mir, that's, a home track, but, maybe he'll show up, but I don't know. I haven't seen it from Mir yet. I think he's just as lost as like Pole has been on the Honda.
Yeah.
And Lorenzo, like it's, haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, Mir has not yet shown even a glimmer of having a handle on that bike. Just does not seem to be able to find any magic with it.
I think there was a little flash where he had a good practice or maybe a decent qualifying in the last couple of weeks, but outside of that, one shot where he maybe made Q2, I think. It really hasn't been there for him.
Yeah, certainly the results aren't there.
I think I have some long-term concerns about Mir. We haven't seen him look the same since he won the championship in, was it 2020?
Mm-hmm.
And that was sort of the back end of the season, riding really strong, consistent, getting podiums in a really quirky year.
Yeah, not winning a lot of races though either. Like it was
right,
probably,
he only won the last one, right? Finally,
yeah,
and
really one of the most kind of lackluster type of world title that you want to win. With I think only one win in the season. It's you never want to take anything away from a world title, but certainly not the way that most people envision. Taking one home, odd year, COVID year. I just don't think we've seen the form that he had even after that on the Suzuki. I think he was always dangerous and he was always fast, but we never saw that consistency come back again. So I tend to agree with you that really interested to see if Mir is, has another, world title contending shot on any bike really. Does he have it within him to pull that off? For now, I expect him to sit in the middle to the back of the pack.
Yep. Agreed.
Yep.
All right, so I think Aprilia is gonna be there. I think that Aleix is gonna make a move. I think he's got the potential. He just hasn't put it together. He's close at Coda in the race on Sunday until he crashed out, which obviously isn't good. But
he claimed it had a ride height device.
The ride height device failed on both his bike.
Yeah, Aprilia's got a problem with the ride height device,
and I believe it failed on Raul Fernandez's bike too. So they definitely were having some trouble with that. If you all haven't followed Sofa Racer on Twitter, I highly recommend it. He's telling Aprilia, well, their fix for the weekend is WD-40. So apparently need a little lubrication on the ride height device.
It seems like they have an engineering problem with the ride height device. It's been a challenge multiple times last year. They had a manual ride height device at some point. That's I think would be, in my opinion, it would be very difficult to operate when Ducati's out there on automatic and Honda's out there on automatic. That's just a lot more for the rider to have to worry about. You hear the riders poll when the riders are polled on whether or not ride height devices should be allowed or not. Everybody with an automatic one's like, yeah, I think they're sweet.
Yeah, it's fine.
And everybody else that doesn't have it figured out, it's like, nah, these are crap. The riders got too much to do anyway.
They break too often.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I think Aprilia doesn't like that. It's part of the rules. It's part of the competition. It's a huge factor. We saw what happened with Suzuki when they didn't have one at all and trying to compete. And it was just sad to watch because they had otherwise a perfectly capable bike. And you just watch them not be able to get the rear grip, and just that squat device took them out of, it was the 2021 season.
I think so, yeah.
It just absolutely took both their riders out of that season because they just, they were like waiting for the parts to arrive for this new device, which they apparently got right before they bailed on the sport. But Aprilia's got to get that figured out.
Yeah.
I would hate to see that be a factor at Jerez. Aleix got fourth, was very competitive last year.
I think he's going to be there. I think he's got a decent shot, assuming the bike holds up. That's, Aprilia has gotten over a lot of their mechanical gremlins and problems, but they still are battling with some of that stuff. If they figure it out, if they keep the bike under Aleix, I think he's got a shot. I think Oliveira, that guy is going to show us some talent again. You know, he can be a little streaky, but if he's healthy and he's fast there, I think that Aprilia might really work for him. And, you know, who knows with Maverick, right?
Right.
Like,
you know, he could just come out and win and just
Maverick's going to win a
just
race.
happen.
It's
Yeah.
going to happen
He's
on
absolutely
an
gonna win a
Aprilia.
race,
He's
yeah.
going to win a race, but he might also finish 20th this weekend.
Yeah.
Who knows?
I totally agree.
So, like, he's got the talent. Who knows? He's so up and down. I am a fan. I've got a new Maverick helmet for this season, and it's freaking awesome. But it's just like, I don't know what to do with him, man. Like, his head is just all over the place. And if he can't start, it's over. If he gets an okay start, which seems to be 10% of the time, yeah, he's in with a shout. I mean, you can't ever write him off if he gets a decent start.
And it feels a little bit like step by step throughout his career, he's getting a little more and more grounded, a little like pieces are falling more and more into place.
Making progress.
But like we all have this thing with Maverick where like fool me once, right? Like
Right.
we've seen the testing times. We've seen
Fastest tester ever.
practice, qualifying. We've seen him get like really hot in races. Like how many races is he putting in the best laps on lap 15?
Yeah, man.
Like totally obliterating the field in 12th.
yeah.
I was like, what do you do with this guy? But it does start to feel like bit by bit he's getting more grounded. He's learning how to be a little maybe more like, I don't know, I don't want to get too into his head about it, but maybe a little more emotionally intelligent, just like
Yeah.
knowing how to ride the highs and the lows and just not get so swept up. And now what we're talking about more with Maverick is, can he start? Can he qualify? Because it seems like, man, still feels like we're just one step away from the Maverick we always hope will,
I think I'm
will
going to
show
go
up.
home and have my first grade daughter put together a little project for him, you know, that's like testing champion trophy. Because, like, that's got to be like the best trophy he's ever going to have. No, I'm just kidding. But, like, you know, hopefully he can pull it together and get it one of these days. But, you know, like, yeah, it keeps going on and on and on. And
Yeah, he always gives me the impression, like, and this is, you can only, tell so much from after race interviews and the access that we actually get to these guys thinking. But, coming off of like the Yamaha disaster with him, he's just left me in a place where like, I genuinely wonder if he's a competitive guy. Like, cause he just doesn't seem to care. Like he's just content. He's just like, yeah, we just didn't do very well this week.
Well,
And like I said, you never know. You can't get inside the head of these riders. You don't. You have no idea if the way that they speak to the media and the way they speak to us has any bearing at all whatsoever on their state of mind. And Tony, you might have some more insight to that. But.
it's just that emotional journey that he's been through, because there have been times when he's thrown fits and like it is awful to watch him in the box because he just looks like he's pissed off and sad and mad and every emotion's going through him. And so I kind of feel like at this point when we're watching him, yeah, he probably looks like he doesn't care, but yeah, I don't know, I think he cares. But yeah, is that killer edge there? Like he has gotten married, he's got a kid, like family's starting to set in. Like I'm an old man with kids now, and like those things play a part in how competitive and like how much you're willing to just put yourself out there, to do what you have to do to be at that just cutting edge limit, So I think he's willing to risk it. But like that's the thing about his starts. Like, as a racer, those starts like are always the scariest part of the race. Like your heart's just pounding. You're like, I'm not sure I can do this. And then I'm sure that every racer, you have to have those feelings or you shouldn't be there, because you're either not going to be competitive or you're not going to fight for that last edge. But like, lining up at a race like that, I mean, I know what it's like club racing, but to be on a MotoGP grid, like your life is basically flashing before your eyes, and you have 20 other bikes all trying to pile into the same corner at 100 miles an hour. It's definitely not for the faint of heart. And if you have any inkling of life conservation, it's going to be disastrous in that sport. And so I don't know. I mean, the start thing for me has always made me wonder, like, is Maverick scared? And that's fine. But like, if he's scared, that could be where his downfall is, in terms of like not being able to stick it in, to turn one alongside of people. I mean, you go back and look at all these races, and yeah, he's done it. But, like, is it that little bit that's just holding him back that he just can't, stick it in there and be at the front of races?
Yeah, absolutely. Curious what your guys' thoughts are on the VR46 team this week. We've obviously seen some brilliance from that team. I think we expect a race win from Marini this year. I think we expect more from Bezzecchi. He's leading the championship, right?
I think Bezzecchi is a dark horse for the championship. I mean, it's kind of weird to say that with him being in the lead of the championship, but, I don't think anybody really expected that out of him, for sure. I mean, his dominant race win in Argentina was a little bit unexpected, too. Like, everybody sort of knew he had the potential to win, but he didn't just win that race. He dominated that race.
And in the wet, where he self-admittedly is not great in the wet.
Right.
So he dabs, to his own account of that race, is that was kind of a freak event for him. He was in the zone. He felt it. He felt every part of that win. But that was new to him. And that type of confidence, that type of win builds for you, where you literally have like an enlightening moment where you're like, wait, I'm the fastest guy in the wet. And I didn't even think I was that good in the wet. What that has to do to your confidence throughout the rest of the season as a rider is I can only imagine. And so I'm really excited to see what he comes out with this weekend and through the rest of the season. I mean, I think it's going to be incredible. There's so many Ducatis on the grid. They're all ridiculously fast.
Right.
Every single one of these guys has the ability to win races, multiple races potentially.
It is. It's unbelievable.
So, yeah, it's just, the amount of riders that can win this race this weekend is absolutely, I mean, every weekend, but I think especially this weekend with Honda likely to be being competitive with KTM and, Jack's performance at Coda. He seems to be having a good handle on the bike. The Aprilia is doing well here last year, having two riders that could potentially win this race. You just see through the depth of the field,
right.
Just like who.
I mean, I feel like we're going through this and we're just like, well, this guy could win and this guy could win and this guy could. It's like, well, not everybody can win or podium.
Yeah.
There's only 3 spots on the podium, but like, we really are in for like, I think one of potentially the best races that we've seen in a while, and we've seen some really good races, lately. I mean, Bezzecchi's got all the tools. That Ducati that Marini and Bezzecchi are on is obviously one of the best bikes on the grid. It won the championship last year. I think Ducati have made improvements on the 2023 bike, but again, like they're sort of sorting through that. I think that Pecco is trying to wrap his brain around it. It takes him a little bit, as we saw last year, and he admits, it takes him some time to get used to things. In the media, he's saying that the bike is too stable, which is unbelievable, but it's basically giving him false confidence. And so he's got to figure out how that's going to work. So I think Bezzecchi, first wins bring more wins, and that's going to happen for him. So, and it could happen for Marini too. I think Marini's definitely got the talent. He's just such a slow progression. He definitely takes his time. I don't see him winning lots of races, but I definitely think he can win a race this year. But yeah, I mean, Bezzecchi, I don't really see, if he can build off of these wins and that confidence from Argentina. And like 6th place at Coda was a bad day for him, and you win championships on your worst days. If he can keep doing that all season and come through with the wins every once in a while, he's going to be there. And it would be unbelievable for Rossi VR46 to not only win their first race this season, but a championship. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to call it yet, but it'd be pretty amazing if Rossi was able to win another championship with a team. And all credit to Bezzecchi for the speed and the way he's putting it together so far.
I've been super impressed just with how quickly the VR46 team has put this kind of team and performance together. Of course, they've got they had a good stable of riders to choose from, but to bring it together on the development side of things too, and to put this package together with 2 competitive riders who are both young, who are new to the MotoGP grid with a new team. It's pretty exciting.
It is for sure. I mean, a lot of those guys in that paddock have been around a long time. Rossi, Uccio, Flamini, those guys all knew how to put together a team from their experience. And that side of things is showing. They kept together all the guys that they knew and had relationships with and they moved up from Moto 3 and Moto 2, so they've been in the paddock. This is not like brand new to them, but to be able to actually put it all together and be able to win like this, it is impressive for sure.
But again, looking ahead to Jerez, like, would we be surprised by anything? We just said it. We've gone through every rider and said this guy's got a shot. We're looking at a top 8 or top 10 of guys. Any of them ends up on the podium or winning, we wouldn't be shocked right now. So yeah, throw VR46 into that. But I start to look like they're really exciting right now. I look up against the competition and I go, I don't know, man. Like, anything could happen. We've got the Honda guys. We haven't even touched on, like, Alex Marquez is putting together a quietly very interesting campaign. Like, he's stepped right onto a new bike also, and he's outperforming anything he's done previously on a Honda, save for maybe 1 or 2 weekends. So I've been having a lot of fun. I think maybe more than any rider right now, I've been watching where's Alex Marquez at, because there's just something about that little brother storyline that I guess here I am in the middle of my 2 big brothers. Like, of course I'm going to be invested in that, but he's in the shadow, right? And to have these moments to step out of the shadow, to get off of a bike that honestly no one, at least until last weekend, I thought no one could ride except for Marc. And now to see him on, like, just stepping onto a Ducati, and he's going toe for toe with Bagnaia with Pecco.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's incredible to see. I think I've always been, as a Marc Marquez fan, always been rooting for Alex. Great to see him jump onto Ducati and just immediately start, like, becoming an absolute threat. There's every weekend, I think, this year, I will, I'll believe that Alex is capable of winning. I think he's going to put a lot of pressure on the factory team throughout the year, as Ducatis just seem to do. And so I really do think that I'm really looking forward to it. Talk about a guy I'd probably put in my top 3 for the win this weekend. Home country, home track in some ways. He's got a lot to prove. He's in incredible form. Just super bad luck last weekend.
Yeah, terrible luck.
Literally throwing up in his helmet on the sprint race, which that sounds like the worst thing
I can't imagine
ever happened.
Terrible.
Throw up, crash, throw up again, get that helmet off. That just sounds so horrible. So
and then to be taken out in the first corners of the race.
Absolutely. And then the race the next day, Jorge I made the joke that maybe Jorge got him sick the first day. So then he throws up in his helmet, and then on Sunday he just wrecks him outright. And I was just, he might be a little grumpy with Jorge, but he was a great sport about it. And he honestly, he let it go immediately. He said it's totally water under the bridge at this point. Understands that, everybody's on the limit all the time. Made really good comments, as you'd expect, Marquez to do. And but yeah, really excited. I think he's got a lot of confidence coming this weekend. He was very fast last weekend. He just had some pretty poor luck. So yeah, really interested to see. He's got a lot. I think he's probably hunting and saying, I'm owed a little bit of good fortune this weekend. I think with any good fortune, Alex Marquez is a dangerous guy.
Yeah.
But does it feel a little bit like the pattern throughout Alex Marquez's career, where he just comes on slow and steady until suddenly he's the world champion? We saw that in Moto 3, we saw that in Moto 2. Now is this his 3rd season in MotoGP, maybe 4th?
3 or 4.
It's about time for Alex Marquez to start walking up that podium and taking his place at the top.
Would it not just be incredible to see Alex and Marc just duking it out? For the world championship at some point. I think that would be one of the coolest things that we could ever imagine. And hey, MotoGP, if there's a sport that will give you that type of romanticism and that type of incredible competition that you could possibly only dream of, it would be MotoGP. So we'll see how it goes. I think that's why I've been secretly, not secretly, but secretly that's the reason I've been always rooting for Alex Marquez, because everybody wants to see these brothers go at it and just absolutely see who's better. I haven't heard any stories. I'd love to know if you guys have. What is it like when these guys hit the dirt track at the house?
Oh man,
do these guys are they toe to toe? Is it big brother always beats little brother the way it is in MotoGP and has been so far? Where's the threat there? Obviously, Marc has been the biggest fan of Alex Marquez throughout his career. Is right there when he's winning his titles, going to every, making sure he is really focused in on Alex's race as much as his own. So yeah, what do you guys have any anecdotes that you're aware of that? I just wonder.
No, man, I've seen some, the tweets of those guys training together and riding dirt bikes together and dirt tracking. And I think that they're each other's biggest fans until they're lined up against each other.
That's right.
I mean, there is no question that Marc Marquez is a killer. And when anyone gets in his way, it ain't going to be pretty, even if it's Alex. He might give Alex maybe a couple extra inches that he wouldn't give somebody else, but I'm sure he's not going to be afraid to be rubbing up on Alex if he needs to get that position. So, yeah, I mean, it could get ugly. I wouldn't be surprised to see Mark, shove it down the inside of Alex and push him wide and hopefully not make him crash. But, I think there's we watch Aleix and Pole and those guys go at it. We've seen those brothers race and the emotion that they have for one another. They definitely wear that on their sleeve. But, I think Alex and Mark care about each other that much. But I feel like, there might be a little more quarter given between Aleix and Pole than there would be Alex and Mark.
I think that's probably right. Yeah, I think that goes both ways. I think if either of them have the opportunity to pounce, as a younger brother, like there's nothing like sticking it to your older brother. Right. So I think that's important. You want to get that chip off your shoulder in all cases. And then we've already seen it when those two come together on the track in a couple of rare moments. But Marquez will bump into him like he bumps into anybody else. His elbows will be out. With Alex, and I don't think Alex would expect anything else. I'm sure they've grown up together, elbows out hard all the time.
For sure.
So, but yeah, I think we all want to see, the more of that competition. And again, since Marquez's, injury and Alex is coming into the sport, Alex kind of been stuck in a Honda, hasn't been performing for him, or he's not been able to perform on. And then Mark, on and off the bike, not healthy, and now on a kind of a challenged bike so far. Yeah, I think I'm really excited to see those two go at it. It'd be incredible to see those guys go at it in Jerez.
Even if they're battling it out for fourth, I'm going to be into it, right?
Yeah, it's going to be
like
great,
that might be what we're actually looking at coming up here as Mark is still coming back, as Alex is easing into the Ducati. It could be that we just get to see that first fight happening. Yeah. Who knows where in the field, but it'll be fun when it happens. And even if they do get their elbows out, if they are, just absolutely dogging it against each other, if they end up in the gravel, I do think they're the kind of like this brotherly relationship seems to be like as soon as they're in the gravel, it's going to be like on their feet, helping each other up. Whereas like one of the things with the Espargaro brothers, you'll really see them get into each other just like verbally, and that's fine. All brother relationships are going to be what they are, and but it is fun to watch those dynamics play out in such high intensity, high competitive arenas of life like this. Yeah. So it'll be fun.
It's really good to see Alex get his shot on a different bike because, his style never suited Honda or the way Mark rides. I mean, he is a completely different rider than Mark is. There was a potential for Alex to get onto a Yamaha coming from Moto2, and a certain somebody, VR46, shut it down because he was not going to have a Marquez on a Yamaha. And that is a tragedy for Alex. Maybe, seeing as how the Yamaha hasn't been the best bike in the recent past. But, to see Alex on a good bike that actually suits his style, it's not surprising that he's doing well.
And I think there is, some rumors as well that Mark may have had a lot to do with him ending up at a Honda.
Oh, for sure.
And
no question.
Alex has had to have had some feeling of wanting to write his own story a little bit here, coming into coming in and having the first part of his MotoGP story written by Valentino and Mark's rivalry and Mark's desires for him to ride on a Honda that did not go well for him. He has to be, he stepped out on a Ducati. That was his choice. Doesn't seem like there's anybody that's was in the way of that. This was a pure Alex Marquez on merit, what he wanted to do, in a seat he deserved. And so, you get him out in the clear where he is writing his own story, for the first time, and like here, in MotoGP, I should say, for the first time. And, look what we're seeing. We're seeing, you're exactly right that he's a very different rider than Mark. And so, expecting him to kind of follow in the footsteps and become a little Marc Marquez is exactly the opposite of what Alex wants. He wants to be Alex Marquez. And so I'm really excited to see him. He's one of my favorites for the weekend. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you could definitely pull something special off this weekend. So you guys have any top 3 predictions you think is going to happen this weekend?
Oh man. It really did. I really hope that we see Mark. I'm going to go ahead and just predict that we're going to see Mark because he's going to be at the track. And I'm going to predict that he's going to be fast. So that's probably my number 1 prediction.
Mm-hmm.
My number 2 prediction is I think that I honestly think that the most likely person to win this race is actually Bagnaia. Because I think coming off of last weekend, he's still the guy to beat. He's still the defending world champion. He's still the fastest person. I think that you would say, on merit, like who's going to be the fastest rider for qualifying, who has the ability to qualify and just stay at the front and just win the race. That's a huge question to ask. Is it going to be within anybody's power to even keep up with Pecco this weekend? He's coming off of 2 wrecks, out of points. He's under a huge amount of pressure to put up points. And so I think if he qualifies really well, I think it's going to be really difficult to see anybody else beating him. And then, of course, the X factors that we have coming in, like we've discussed, kind of all of the riders that are able to compete here, Mark being there, Alex in his form and what can happen there. So you just absolutely never know. But I do think it is Pecco's race to lose this weekend. And I think it might have going into the European kind of season here, I think it's a huge race for him. He really needs to make sure that it doesn't go downhill quickly, totally within his control.
Yeah,
the bike has not failed him, the team has not failed him. He has failed himself in these races, wrecking out of a really comfortable second position in the wet, but just no reason really at that stage of the race why he needed to put the bike on the ground. Exactly the same thing at Coda. Just a very early 2022 season-esque crash. So I think he has a lot to prove to come out and do that. And then, I really think that we'll see my third prediction is that we'll see Aleix do well. I would really like to see him on the podium.
Yeah.
If I was going to wager on where he would finish, I'd say third.
All right. I like it.
Yeah, I would actually. What I'm thinking right now as I get put on the spot with a prediction, I think quietly under the radar this season, I'm paying attention to Aleix Espargaro. I'm very curious to see what he does this weekend. I think we've talked about a couple other guys who have some pressure on them coming into Jerez, the beginning of the European season. We saw how good Aleix could be a year ago for that whole first part of the year. The race right before the summer break last year? He was by far and away the fastest guy in the field. I think Quadraro.
Oh, Assen.
Maybe Assen basically knocked him onto the grass or out of the race, but still he just stormed back through, and all signs were pointing towards him having a massive second half of the season last year. And whatever happened, you guys might know better than I do. I can't remember anything ever.
For me, it all started when he rolled out of second place when he was. He just thought it was the last lap. He thought the race was
poor
over.
guy.
Yeah.
That's right.
He rolled out of it on the final lap, and I think he ended up 5th or so in that race. But for me, I think that was whether it was the embarrassment of that moment or what, but that was when the season kind of came off.
That was the chink in the armor.
He was really just he was having a mere world champion season.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Seriously,
he was on his way to
his second, third, and fourth thing his way to the championship.
Absolutely.
For sure.
He was on his way to repeat.
And then I think he crashed at Silverstone, hurt himself, in the second half of the season. So there were definitely a few road bumps in there.
Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah. Well, in the first 2 weekends, I don't think we've quite seen him at his best. We haven't seen him return to that form. So
we were robbed by the weather at Argentina a little bit.
Yeah. So coming into this weekend where, again, they're going somewhere familiar, home country, back to Europe. He knows this Aprilia now. I'm sort of low-key putting my money on Aleix this weekend. Maybe not for a win, but for a big performance.
Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. You have anything else to add, or?
No, it's too unpredictable. I can't even begin. I think I do think Pecco is far and away the favorite still. We're talking about a lot of guys who are showing a lot of promise, but the form that Pecco's been in the first 2 weekends looks pretty deadly. So I've got to think, especially the way he starts and gets out ahead at the beginning of races, and then how hard it is to get past him.
Oh man,
he's just consistent enough
Passing
leading from the
Ducati.
front that as soon as he gets out there, if he's out there by turn 2, it's not necessarily lights out, but it's going to take a heroic performance by whoever's in second or third to get past him.
It's likely going to take a Ducati.
Right.
And that's one of the things I think is going to be a real wrench that's going to be a huge part of the story for all the other riders that are not on Ducatis is if you can't. I mean, Rins won at Coda, but Pecco crashed out in front of him.
Right.
He didn't ever have to pass that Ducati.
Well, not only that, but that is going to be the key to Pecco's defense is having to fight other Ducatis.
Absolutely. You know, and that's going to be challenging. So that's where, you look at, Alex Marquez and you say, if Pecco qualifies first and launches out and gets out ahead, and you have, is it going to be another Ducati that qualifies second? If Mark's there, maybe he qualifies second. You could see, one of the Aprilias, in the top 3.
Fabio could be up there.
Fabio could absolutely
qualifying
be,
at Jerez
to be
for sure.
second. So if you are, another Ducati and you're going to have to come past a couple of other riders to get to Pecco, does he get a couple of seconds ahead of you?
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be a huge challenge. And, I don't know, this year if we've seen somebody overtake a Ducati. I guess we haven't seen somebody overtake Pecco out of the lead on merit. Can anybody get past his elbows and the power of that Ducati while he's upright in good conditions? So
we did see Bez pass him at Argentina in the wet.
Yes,
albeit.
yeah, that was
So we got some VR46, dirt track and rivalries
absolutely.
happening on track, which is a lot of
on
fun.
a Ducati though. So
Yes, on a Ducati.
I really do think it's going to be really challenging for a Honda, for a Yamaha, especially even an Aprilia. KTM maybe. I just don't see it. If passing Pecco in form. Just heads up. I just don't see it happening. I just think the power is too much. I think they might get past him for a second, and by the end of that lap, he'll still be ahead of him. So I do think that's a big part of the story is how things qualify out and how that race start happens for Pecco. For sure.
Jerez isn't always the easiest place to pass either. So
it's very true. Very true.
We'll have to keep an eye on that. And again, like you said, the Ducatis and Pecco. So
yeah. So to that end, I think this weekend my predictions. I got to say I think. Zarco is going to come through. I think you got an old hat at an old track, and he's going to shine. I don't know if I can put my money on a win. I really hope it's Zarco's first win this weekend. It's going to come. I really hope it comes. I hope he doesn't finish his career without a win and a backflip. So I'm keeping my eye on him. I'm rooting for Zarco this weekend. I think that Pecco, like you said, is going to be there to, at least finish on the podium, put in that solid race to get his championship back on track, win it if he can, but settle for a podium if necessary. And Aleix would also be one of the racers I've got for the podium. I think also, I don't know if I should say Aleix. I think that an Aprilia is going to be on the podium. My bet is that it'll be Aleix, but, like we talked, Vinales could have his day. And if he has his day, well, he's going to beat Aleix. We all know that if it is Maverick's day. And then never count out Oliveira when that guy figures it out. And if he's back this weekend and if he is feeling it, he could be there. I'm just thinking, if he's coming off an injury, he might not be the guy. But I think one of the Aprilias is going to be in the shot for a podium. I think the VR46 guys are going to be there, but I don't think they're going to be on the podium. They might surprise me. I think they'll be in the mix, and I think Fabio will be right outside the podium too.
The VR46 guys might be similar to the Aprilia factory team.
Right.
One of them might be on the podium, but probably not. Yeah, probably not both of them. They seem to go. I don't know. Rope
I think
and
there will
pulley.
be some races. Mugello could be super interesting to see where VR46 comes out at Mugello. That could be pretty stellar to see. Pecco, Bezzecchi, Marini. All three of those guys are going to be gunning for the podium at that race, no question.
Mugello's a different story.
That's going to be nuts. I can't wait for that. One of the best races of the year, no question. One of my favorites. But yeah, here at Jerez, that's kind of where I'm putting my money.
I think those are great. Really solid predictions all around. I'm really excited for Jerez. Really excited for
Oh man, I cannot wait.
getting into the European, section of the season here. There's so much excitement to go on. If Marc is back, always fireworks. I think, there's a lot of good predictions here.
And
anybody
Anea's
that's
gonna be back this weekend too, or at least he's there going through
Okay.
a fitness check. So again, coming off injury, hard to know what he's actually going to do here at Jerez, but
We can never count him out.
never count Anea out.
You never count him out.
Is there one thing that you guys are going to be rooting for? Like if you sit down and start for practice on Friday and then looking forward to the sprint race, the Sunday race, like when the flag drops, where are your eyes looking? Who are you looking at? And what are you hoping is going to happen?
I'm going to close my eyes whenever Alicia's on the screen because I'm going to be rooting for him, but I'm super scared he's going to let me down somehow. I kind of keep a half eye open on how his weekend's going. And Zarco, like I said, man, I really want to see how he progresses through the weekend. I think Jerez is a place that he can do it. I think he's been fast there before. And one of these days, it's going to be his day and it's going to come together. And so I'm excited to see if he can pull it off.
I'm going to be looking at the Marquez brothers. If Marc is there, obviously, I'm just going to be really focused on how he's doing. It'll depend on the weekend how if he's racing, and then how healthy he is. If it's going to appear like he has the strength to compete for a podium, or if it's, hey, this is going to be a race to get my thumb into race shape. And part of my rehab is just getting on the bike. Then I don't then. Anything less than kind of a podium effort by Marc Marquez in terms of his fitness, I'm going to be looking at Alex. And so I've been really rooting for Alex this whole year. I think he got just super unlucky at Coda, and so that's where my eyes are going to constantly be going. Is how is he doing? Where is he at? Is he is he a factor? I think he can if he's in the top 8. He's going to be dangerous, in terms of a podium.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think I'm actually going to be tracking the same. Mostly Alex. One difference between Aaron and I have not been on like the Marquez hype train for years. I was much more in the Rossi camp on most of those things.
Heck yeah.
Really fell for Pedrosa, but for me, it's hard to not root for Marc after everything we've seen him go through, but also because he is the bar, and we want him to show that he is still the bar. And we want to see how everyone else, all these young guys that get all this hype, how they stack up when the king comes back to the throne.
Yeah.
And so it's hard not to watch that now. It's hard not to root for a guy who's fought through so much adversity. We've lived through the eyes of Marc Marquez for a decade now in the GP class. But then what's really been tugging at my heartstrings over the last couple of years is Alex, like seeing him step out of the shadow. So definitely this weekend, I'm going to be tracking Alex most of all, but definitely wanting Marc to pick up the mantle again.
Yeah, it's a really good point, Aaron, on Marc Marquez and how he's going to ride this weekend because, 3-4 years ago, he was just going to throw everything at it no matter what. And through the last few years and his experiences, he has started to show up and not just throw everything at it, maybe ride within himself a little bit to make sure he can make it to the next round and actually heal up a little bit. So
yeah, I mean, I thought that might be the case until Argentina, and the dude just came out like throwing the bike around, just running into people and just going to town. Even before the accident, I mean, he absolutely was making significant contact. Riding extremely aggressively, and it was riding aggressively. I think that has more to do with the front end of Honda in that incident. But was that Argentina? Is that something?
it was Portimao.
Portimao, yeah, Portimao.
Yep.
Sorry, yeah. I think it had more to do with the front end of the Honda in terms of the accident, but it also happened the way it did because of how
aggressive he is.
Absolutely nuts aggressive he was going on a front end that probably didn't deserve his trust. So we'll see. I agree. I honestly think that if he's fit, if he's feeling like he's physically able to, I don't think we've yet seen him hold back in terms of making sure that he's healthy, like riding like an older man that's been injured for a couple of years. So we'll see. And I think it could be his moment to really prove it at Jerez, the comeback. This is where it all started. Is this where the next chapter starts for him?
Let's go full circle. Let's do it, man.
Yeah, absolutely. So this has been awesome talking about Jerez pre-weekend. If you are enjoying the pod, like and subscribe.
Yeah, for sure.
This is our first one. Jumping right in here, and then we have on Sunday we'll be doing a post race with Jerez, kind of taking down all of our takes on the action. So we hope to see you there, and hope to see you guys throughout the season.
Let's get it.
Let's do it.
Awesome.